Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Tricked Before. This time, Jetrel. It's Voyager. Jetrel. That sounds like a Voyager episode. Jetrel, Voyager. It's all been tricked before. Speaking of strange things you might see on Facebook, Jetrel sounds like somebody who might try to friend you, and you don't know them, and you have no common friends. Do not friend them. But you don't friend us. It's all been tricked before. That's what we are on Facebook. So friend us on there, or follow us on there. Get a little extra stuff. And maybe become Patreon member too. What the heck? I'm putting all the promos in. Patreon.com/IBD. Become our Jetrel. This is Jetrel. It's Voyager. It's all been tricked before.
Maybe. Who knows?
Welcome to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. Your skeleton crew is here.
This is Steven.
And Jimmy-Jerome, and that's it. Keith sent us some ranking stuff, but he's not here. So we're going alone. In this episode, we are talking about the Voyager episode Jetrel. Jetrel? I don't know. Do you remember how to pronounce it?
Jetrel, I think?
Jetrel? Okay, let's go with Jetrel then.
Yeah.
First impressions of Jetrel the episode, not necessarily Jetrel the character.
I thought some interesting concepts here. One of my questions was if the character that was dealing with the destruction was anyone but Neelix, would it feel more impactful? I think eventually it does, but I know, and this might just be my Neelix bias, but I felt like it was like, I feel like he's overdoing it, even though obviously he isn't. You know, we're talking about this kind of destruction. Some of the twists in here were fine. It was, I'm going to say it was all right again. I think the concepts are more interesting, which I thought they were, you know, and dealing with, I feel like these are things we've dealt with on different levels in Star Trek of, you know, destroyers of the world. I mean, I'm thinking back to like Conscious of the King, you know, for example, Kodos the Destroyer, where, you know, he had a similar thing where he was trying to decide, you know, we limited resources kind of a thing. And this guy, similar thing. We're dealing with their, you know, in DS9, I feel like we're dealing with a lot of people dealing with their guilt of what they did during the war kind of thing. So this is kind of more of that. I think, like I said, I think down the stretch it gets better. I'm sounding super negative on it. I don't do. I struggled with it. Like I said, I think because of my anti-Neelix bias, which I feel bad about because I really like the actor that does Neelix, and I don't think it's something he is doing wrong or anything. I just think it was like, because I feel like Neelix talks the same way about everything. So when he's talking about something really annoying, like how he made the soup, it sounds kind of the same as when he's talking about his homeworld being destroyed. But I think eventually he rises above that here. So that's my long first impression.
So yeah, I thought this was a very strong episode for Ethan Phillips. And it might have been the best, it's definitely his best episode thus far. It might have been the best like character-focused story. What it suffers from, I think, is we've watched so many Deep Space Nine episodes that deal with the occupation. And this feels like a weaker version of one of those stories.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like it might be Voyager's best example of this, but it doesn't compare to the Deep Space Nine one so well, even though Ethan Phillips did a great job and so did the actor playing Jetrel.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of want to rank it sort of high for the season, but I'm not feeling like super strong about it overall because we have those other exampos from the other series.
I think you hit it right on the nail right on the head there. It's exactly what I failed to say. Many more. I said use many more words, but yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
I mean, if we, like a lot of Star Trek fans at the time, or people in general, were only watching Voyager and not Deep Space Nine, because Voyager had higher ratings,
Right.
I think this would have landed a lot better.
Yes.
So we start with back in the pool hall, Sandrine's. We saw Gaunt Gary again, one of our guys that was there before, and it's just a thoroughly fun little scene where Neelix and Tuvok are playing pool, and Tuvok does this whole thing about, well, I could just bounce off of this into that and whatever, and then he just totally screws up the shot. And then he blames the ship's stabilizers, which I thought was, like, it was so good. Because I kind of feel like that Vulcan ego, he can't ever admit that it was execution, even though it definitely probably was execution.
Exactly. He says logic would dictate that if, and I just wrote, if is doing a lot of work in this sentence. If you strike the cue ball properly, well, you'll make every shot if you strike the cue ball properly.
Right.
The other thing is, me and my brother, whenever we play pool, we've always, essentially most of our game is safety because we're not very good at it. And very frustrating to regular pool players to not have a shot, and you're not making necessarily getting any shots in, but they're really not getting any in. So you're just gumming up everything. And then they start doing the Tuvok and not striking the ball properly, and then then you get your shots. But at least that's the way I call my game, even though I'm just not necessarily a good pool player. But so I enjoyed that for that element as well. And it's always good to see Gone Gary, a recurring character. Larry Hankin, who we've talked about before. Both our big guest stars this episode were guys we've seen before. Larry Hankin and James Sloan played the titular Jetrel.
We've already talked about him because he was in 2 episodes of Next Generation back in the day. He also did 2 episodes of Deep Space Nine, playing the same character both times on DS9, 2 different characters Next Gen. But yeah, that was more out of just Bajoran makeup, so it barely counts as makeup. As Odo's the guy that found the Odo, Dr. Mora. So he does kind of tend to play shadier types of characters.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, but it was he was good. He was good in this role. I think it is his last Trek appearance.
Yeah,
so.
It looks like it. I liked his makeup too. I thought it was gross, but couldn't look away.
Yeah, it was very detailed. But they did point out in the Greatest Generation podcast, or no, Delta Flyers podcast I was listening to, Robert Duncan McNeil and Garrett Wong, that as elaborate as his face was, they didn't put anything on his hands. And that made it look kind of takes you out of the moment. I did not notice it, but once they said it, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Our friend Mr. Sloyan was also the voice of Lexus for 20 years, from 1989 to 2009. And they did some Mitsubishi ads. Interesting. Still with us.
Yeah. I'm not going to go into the writers' bios because there's way too many of them on here. It was story by Scott Nimmerfro and James Thompson, and then teleplay by Jack Klein, Karen Klein, and Kenneth Biller. So a lot of hands in this, and then directed by Kim Friedman, who I believe, she directed 4 episodes of Voyager. Yeah, this is the 3rd one she's directed this season. So we've talked about her in the past. But having all those writers, I feel like might not be the best thing for this necessarily. I don't know.
Yeah. You always worry when you see that many.
Yeah, and it does look like some of them were on staff, and some of them have like only 2 credits. So it's just a matter of, and some I've gone on to produce a lot of great shows. But I don't know these were the wrong group of people, but it was a big group of people. So the vessel asks for Neelix. Neelix gets called to the bridge, and we hear about the Hakonians, which I kept thinking Harkonians, because Dune, but not quite the same thing. Yep. They conquered the Talaxians, and Neelix is upset about them. 300,000 people killed. Yeah. It definitely makes you think here. I mentioned Oppenheimer earlier. It definitely makes you think Nagasaki or Hiroshima of dropping the bomb.
Yes. Yeah.
But it was Neelix's moon, and he wasn't home at the time. And doesn't that color everything you've seen about Neelix since the time we've met him now? That he lost everybody he loved, and seeing the pain when he talks about his family, like there were no survivors, and the little girl that he thought was a monster coming out of the smoke, and all of a sudden, like, the goofiness and the constant cheeriness isn't so much annoying as it is a coping mechanism, and actually admire his strength for continuing on and still opening himself up to make bonds. Like, the fact that I think most people in this situation, if they meet a group of new people, won't want to engage with them. Whereas, yes, Neelix used them to get what he wanted, but now he genuinely seems to try to want to help them and do things for them. And I feel like a lot of people would withdraw and be like, no, I don't trust anybody. I went through this horrible thing. So
that's a good take.
I'll do respect for him. And Ethan Phillips killed it this episode. He really did.
My first reaction when the end of the cold open was my Family Guy thing I often do, which is, it's a Neelix episode, people. Here's the remote. But the Hiroshima, Nagasaki things. Also, at least the way once our guy there, not Gone Gary,
Jetrel.
Then how could I forget the title? When he's talking about the metriosis or whatever, it made me think of like asbestosis or Agent Orange or the GIs who worked with the A-bomb, and obviously the people who were killed by the A-bomb or survived the A-bomb blast. So right off the bat, we've got all of that going on. Just the way it affected, and just that it's in there and we can't really cure it in any way. We can just treat it. Yeah. And so he wants to do the exam on Neelix, which I thought was weird. That's a long way to come to find one guy. And then obviously we start finding out. And I was like, well, can't someone else do it? And then they actually closed that loophole. The EHM or EMH was like, I can't do this. I'm not programmed for this. And I was like, okay, I guess nobody can. That makes sense.
Yeah, I unfortunately did remember. Didn't remember all the details of this episode, but almost immediately I'm like, yeah, he's lying. Neelix doesn't have it. He has it.
Yeah,
Jetrel has it. I remember that much.
I think I knew. Yeah, I knew. Yeah, I knew that Jetrel had it, and that I felt like I knew that reveal. And I didn't necessarily know that Neelix didn't have it, but obviously I knew he wasn't going to die from it.
Yeah,
or he wasn't going to live with it or die from it.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
That's right.
Yeah, I thought it was odd when I know Kes is young, so doesn't always have. Maybe she hasn't. We don't know how much time she spent with Neelix pre-Voyager, although now they live together and they've probably been spending a lot of time together. But it felt very odd that she never asked about his family, or he never. I mean, he never told her, but wouldn't she have asked? But maybe if you only live 8 or 9 years, you don't. When you're with someone, you don't spend time asking about their history because that just wastes so much of your brief lifespan.
Right. But yeah, I thought Kes's reactions to everything were sensible. And like when he's like, "Oh, why bother?" Essentially, he was like, "Why bother?" And she's like, "No, you have to."
You're helping, or could be potentially helping other Talaxians, other members of your species, if you help them find a cure. So that all made absolute sense. Something I liked about Jetrel was that he wasn't sorry. I mean, I guess he kind of at the end showed that he was, sort of, without saying it, but like he is, of course he's justified this to himself. I mean, I don't buy his explanation of I'm simply a scientist. I developed a weapon, but I didn't choose to use it. You developed a weapon, dude. Like, and there's no discussion at any point in this episode about, well, I really developed an energy source that they use as a weapon, which, Oppenheimer and others may have claimed about the bomb. Yeah. But no, there was no pretense of that. It was like, no, I developed a weapon. I just didn't expect them to use it, like more just a deterrence weapon. And it's like, no. But it was authentic to me that he found a way to like justify it to himself and live with it.
Yeah, it definitely sounded like the Oppenheimer, I am the destroyer of worlds, which is apropos. Yeah, if you're going to use it, this is a place to use it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we don't know the details about the war, and were the Talaxians in the right at all? We don't know any of those things, so it does make it hard to fully judge it, but I don't know. I just feel like anybody that makes a weapon of mass destruction, there's no legitimate reason for it, personally. So I can't excuse, no matter what the Talaxians did, I don't know that I can excuse it. But, maybe that's naive. Maybe, there is a justifiable reason to use it.
I mean, we're still justifying using the A-bombs because, if we hadn't, it would kill more people, the war would have dragged on, yada, yada, yada. But
it would have killed more of our people. We don't know if it would have killed more people overall.
Right.
That's a distinction that I think should be kept in mind.
Yeah, and that's the winners saying that.
But I think you can debate dropping the first bomb. The fact that we dropped a second, I think, is pretty egregious and hard to almost impossible to justify.
Yeah, and we weren't going to use it in Germany,
Right, I mean, not the white people.
If the situation had been different there, we would have, but yeah.
Yeah, I mostly think we shouldn't have used it at all, but I think there's an argument to be made. I see some argument to be made for using it once. The twice was, Doesn't sound like Jetrel used it twice, his people, the Hakonians. So Neelix has it, apparently. He doesn't, but he's glad he'll die before Kes. Oh, that was a little cringy because it's like, yes, you love her, but also you want to die before her so you don't have to grieve her, but you're cool with her having to grieve you? Okay, dude. Like, I don't know. Didn't love that. Transporter could be the key. I thought of you because, we always going to have more talk about transporters and their magic abilities.
Yes, that's where I thought we were going. And he tried.
Yeah.
I did like that he tried it and it didn't work, or they tried it and it didn't work, which I think I'll say Voyager, I feel like does more of that because we talk about Janeway being a more scientific captain, quote unquote. I like there's lots of times. I mean, obviously there's a DS9, those guys, not everything works either, but in here I feel like it's more of the scientific method that they're working with usually rather than, all right, we're gonna try and bust through this way. All right, well, I guess we gotta go around this way. But I yeah, I like the idea that the transporter being magic didn't quite work this time. So I appreciate that. And it's obviously set up more dramatic interchange afterwards. And I don't know how, I'm not sure how that's an entire other series or episode of, oh, we brought back these 300,000 people from the dead. What kind of situation are they in?
Right?
What is their, yeah.
That is a Neelix ending episode. Like, he'll staying behind because his family's brought back and he has to help them rebuild.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you and I think have talked about, I think one of the scariest scenes in all of Trek is the transporter malfunction in the motion picture. That freaked me out as a kid and freaks me out now. And, gives credence to, McCoy's fears about transporters. And I thought that's where we were going to go here. And I'm glad we didn't because I didn't need to be more horrified. But, like I said, I mean, yeah, the human part of me that wishes it had worked and people had been saved, but the watching a TV show part of me was like, okay, that's good. Or yeah, not having the magic transporter. So
yeah. We see the Doctor end his own program. He should be more careful about who he does it in front of, but we actually see that come to pass of what he'd been promised.
yes.
They talk about for science, they just need to know whether or not it can be done as an excuse, and I've never taken that as like a valid thing. Like scientists should actually consider what they're doing.
Yes.
Jetrel's wife left him because of the weapon and took his 3 kids. He hasn't seen him in 10 years. I found that super tragic. I also don't think that is at all like if Neelix is like, my whole family's dead, and then he ones ups him with like, I lost my family too. And I'm like, not quite, dude.
That's a very false equivalency.
Right?
I like that his cheers were like milky though. They weren't.
Yeah, I wrote that down too.
That was a nice touch.
And Jetrel has only days left to live, of course, because any Star Trek episode has to be like, you have to have a ticking time, whatever. Yep.
The clock has started.
Or TV in general.
Yes.
The pool hall dream, I did not love in general, but I really didn't think we needed Kes with the flesh peeling off. I feel like Voyager keeps venturing into horror territory, and I can tell you because I watched these with Zoe, my 8-year-old. That scared her. She did not like that at all.
I thought the makeup looked great. I don't know. I agree with you. I don't know if it was necessary, but I thought it looked great. The scarier thing of that, it was the prospect of 2 Neelixes, but I immediately was like, okay, so now we're going to find out what he's been hiding, or, obviously there's something there for him. And then, as he's going through his story of, I think he's telling Kez, right? I'm like, oh, is he a deserter? Yeah, kind of. Conscientious objector, kind of. And then he's like, it's just a liar, which still, but I get him feeling bad, and I guess he probably should, but.
Well, he was a draft dodger. He had said he had bone spurs, and then he just hit out.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he said he thought it was an unjust war.
But without knowing more context around that, it's kind of hard to know if that was a legitimate stance to take or not.
Yep.
Because I watched this with my kid, and this was on network TV, I wish they hadn't included the gross makeup, but, oh well. Tess has been looking for Neelix everywhere, she says, when she finds him hiding in the kitchen where he's always at. Like, if you're looking for it everywhere, don't you start with the place he's at most often?
Yeah. One would think.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Then Jetrel turns off the Doctor. I'm like, things are on now. But, so the Doctor has the ability to turn himself off. He doesn't have the ability to turn himself back on. I feel like that should have been, like, that could have been a humorous thing, though. Like, on, off, on, off, on, off. But, yeah. I feel like he definitely should have a both ways switch. Although I guess his consciousness isn't on when he's off. He kind of mentioned before, like, no time passes. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
So that would be maybe more difficult. How did the doctor know Neelix was tranquilized when he got turned back on? Like, Neelix is laying on the floor. He did not examine him at all. Just knows he's tranquilized.
That's a good point.
The hypospray wasn't even laying next to him. It was on the shelf.
Oh, right.
You should have just said Neelix is unconscious. Like, yeah. I don't know. For all he knows, Neelix is dead. Ugh. Bringing back the victims. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so heavy. I kind of wish it hadn't been that. I kind of wish it had been something a little. That is magic. That is beyond what I would believe possible. The fact that we even got close to it is weird. It's so weird that Janeway's not sure she wants to try it. I mean, I guess if she'd made an argument about we don't want to play God type argument, that might be justifiable, but I don't know. It definitely feels like, why don't you at least give it a shot? What is your argument against giving it a shot? She didn't make that clear.
Mine was, and I can't say she had the same thought as me, because probably not, but I was like, where are we going to put these 300,000 people on Voyager?
It's going to be on Voyager. They'd probably just have to stay down that moon.
I guess you just put them back there, yeah.
Now it occurs to me in the moment that, like, it's like Marvel in the MCU, the snap that they were gone for 5 years.
Yeah.
Only this is 20 years, and I mean, it's less people, but it's 20 years, and
I thought that same thing as well. I thought it'd be like the blip, yeah.
Blip, whatever.
I think it's somewhere in here where Neelix is like, he's mad. The doctor's mad or whatever. Or maybe that's earlier before. And you know what? He might be right. He might be a mad scientist. But although, yeah, again, good try. Good try with the transporter stuff. They tried.
Jetrel also, when he's appealing Janeway, says that she's an accomplished scientist. How does he know that? He just met her. And I don't feel like that's the first thing they tell you when you come on board is our captain's also a scientist and also accomplished. Did he since he's been on board, did he look up a record to figure out how to manipulate her best? But we didn't see anything like that.
You know, maybe while he was doing all the studying of the transporter, he got some history of the crew research in as well. He is also an accomplished scientist for sure.
Yeah, which makes me think he wouldn't know about people or how to manipulate them. So why is he even trying to butter up Janeway?
Yeah.
Most science people I know aren't that well versed socially. Could be. I mean, that's a stereotype. It's not true all the way around, but Neelix forgives him. I don't know that he should.
Yeah. I like the clothes. I mean, I thought it was predictable, but I still thought it was good. But I'm kind of with you. I'm like, yeah, because earlier he says, oh no, Jetrel's the one who says I can't get. Yeah, earlier Neelix wanted him to live forever, to live with what he did. I guess maybe it's closure for Neelix, but
I mean, it's got to be, or else it doesn't make sense at all. But it still doesn't. I don't know. It still didn't feel really that earned to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, well, good, again, maybe it's good try. Sorry, you're dying now. I forgive you.
Yeah, I don't know.
But he didn't
I don't think I can forgive him.
He didn't say he's going to forget it. So he just forgiving him, but he's not going to forget.
That's true. My alternate episode was that Neelix actually was a war hero, and now we're just finding out that this goofy guy. And it's like, what did soldiers do after they're out of the army?
Yeah.
You know, like you have to have a whole different life, and to find out that Neelix was this like badass rebel would have been kind of cool.
That's good. That's better than mine. Mine was just that Neelix dies.
Really, even after watching this, like him actually being a good actor, you still want him gone?
Well, I think it would be interesting.
Okay.
I don't necessarily want Neelix gone, but I think that would be an interesting episode. And
well, I got some bad news. Neelix is in all 7 seasons of this show, so I don't think it's bad news. I don't think he ever gets to be as lovable as Quark or as interesting as Quark, but I don't think he's a bad character. I think he gets a lot better when you get him away from Kes, honestly. But
I'm curious about that. Yeah, he's definitely interesting.
Yeah. And what I find interesting is when they're talking about him on the Delta Flyers, they call him Johnny. Apparently, even though his name is Ethan Phillips, everybody calls him Johnny. Oh, don't know the story behind that. I'm curious.
Oh,
but well. Any other notes before we rank?
This is just for the Patreon people, I think. And this is my last note. when Neelix finally agrees to do the test, or whatever, the exam, he says, "Just get it over with." Title of my sex tape. So that is all I have.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, Keith did send us his rankings for this. So in terms of who you can have a drink with, actually, Keith put Jetrel for all of them.
Oh wow, not bad.
Both shady. Well, he put shady. He did not put drink, so he mixed up what he was supposed to do.
Okay.
But he put the Dr. Jetrel is annoying and inspirational because he's trying to make up for his mistakes until his last breath. I disagree with that inspirational, even though it's like, I feel like that's the least he could do.
Right.
But
sorry, I destroyed your entire civilization. Here's a. Let me try and bring them back. Sorry, didn't work.
yeah, so I just messaged Keith. We'll see if he replies back for drink before the end. I'm not going to put Jetrel for drink, although I get the feeling based on Keith's comments that he might have chosen Jetrel for drink. But he went with annoyance and inspiring.
It's another current world parallel where a guy creates a problem and then tries to fix it and look like the good guy.
Right? I canceled those tariffs, so I'm good.
Yeah. I mean, Jetrel's a little more deeper than that, I think, the way he feels about it and everything.
And a lot smarter.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
So who are you having a drink with?
Neelix. This is gonna sound contradictory because, and this just shows my Neelix bias. I think he's also my annoying for the episode. And maybe that's halfway through the episode. I was annoyed with him, but by the end, I'm like, yeah, this dude's definitely gonna need a drink.
I'm having a drink with Neelix as well. For annoying, I did not choose Neelix though. I sided with Keith and chose Jetrel for annoying.
I think that's fair too. Yeah.
Who were you inspired by this week?
Kez.
I knew you were going to say it.
Yeah, she's the one who was like, "Hey, man, come on, you can't give up. What are you talking about? You're the reason I follow you," and blah blah blah. So I thought she's the one who never got down, even though, and every time she says she only has 7 more years to live, I get kind of sad, even though I know we're not going to see her for 7 more years either way.
No.
But,
yeah, she doesn't stay for the whole show. Yeah. I did not find her annoying this week, and I usually do, but that's probably why I didn't find her inspiring either. It was like, oh, well, you're not annoying now, but you're not... I put Neelix as inspiring, like, going through what he went through and the fact that he can still be cheery and still reach out and form bonds with people and everything. I'm like, that's a real survivor. I liked him. Ranking the episode... I kind of want to start high because, again, I think Neelix's arc in this episode was better than pretty much any character has gotten so far this season, and yet I'm not thrilled with this episode. Of course, season 1 hasn't been super strong either. So it's like, so let's just start at the top and we'll see how far down we go. Right now, the top is State of Flux. That's the one with Seska being evil. Definitely below that.
Yes.
Definitely. Below that is Prime Factors. That is Janeway falls in love with that creepy artist guy on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
I liked this one better. I didn't love that one at all.
I think I'd go below, but so I guess we'll kick it to Keith.
Yeah, there were a couple of interesting. Now I'm looking at more of my first thought was just the Janeway romance plot I didn't love. But now I'm looking at a little bit more of the description I remember now about the technology and trying to convince them. And I think my saying go above was too quick. I think I want to go below too. Okay. Now that I'm reading the description more fully and remembering a few other things about the episode. Shouldn't do those instant judgments.
As we know.
Eye of the Needle, that's the Romulan. That was better.
Yeah. Yes. Yep. I agree.
The Cloud. Now we're getting a little more into it.
Yes,
we are. The nebula that's also a life form.
Yeah, I could probably go either way on that. Yeah,
I think I would go above. Just to let you know, below the Cloud's emanations, that's where Harry Kim was like the mummy. I definitely go above that.
Yeah, I think so too.
So put it above the Cloud.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's 4th place for the season of 15. Well, we've only done 14, but. Yeah, that's probably about right. But yeah, if this was a Deep Space Nine episode, I feel like we'd be starting from the bottom, and it'd be within the bottom 4, which is a testament to Voyager's first season not being. I mean, even compared to Deep Space Nine's first season, I think Voyager's first season's been quite a bit weaker.
Yeah, and just glancing over all these episodes and as you talk about it, I'm like, oh wow, man, these are. But I still have positive feelings. Like I said, I think early on I was like, I just love this crew. These guys seem fun to hang out with.
They
But
do.
right now, I feel like we're getting bogged down with actual episode stuff. But yeah,
I think there's a lot of good stuff to come. There's a lot I haven't seen, especially in the later seasons, which I think are considered better than the earlier seasons. So I'm very curious to see how my opinion might change, or where I'll rank this. Right now, it's definitely below Next Gen for me. It's fourth of 5 Star Trek series, because it's above the animated, but
yeah,
it's fourth of 5. I'm curious if it'll ever jump Next Gen and move to third or not.
yeah.
I don't see it beating the original or DS9. At this point, it's got such a deficit to come back from for
You
either
mean
of those
overall?
two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I was just thinking, just first season alone, I think it's probably
First season alone, it's 4 of 5 for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Next Generation's first season wasn't great either.
Yeah. Yeah.
An original series had some real stinkers, but there were
But it had
great episodes in that first season.
Menagerie,
Great.
Balance of Terror,
Yeah.
Sitting on the Edge of Forever. I think that alone was like
It sucked, you're right, but there were some good ones
Alternative
too.
Factor sucked though, it still does. And Tomorrow's Yesterday, yeah.
Charlie X.
Yeah. Charlie X, I know.
I know that bothered me way more than you, but
Yes, it did.
I did not like Charlie X.
Yeah.
Anyway, one more episode of Voyager, but before we do that, we gotta go back to Deep Space Nine to meet another reoccurring character. I feel like Deep Space Nine right now has given us a bunch of. Wait, we just got Moogie, we just got Brunt. The week before that, we just got Lita. Oh, we got Cassidy Yates. We're getting all these reoccurring characters, and we're gonna meet another reoccurring character next week on Deep Space Nine, whose name is also the title of this episode. Similar to Jetrel and Voyager, next week we're going to meet Shakar in the Star Trek Deep Space Nine episode Shakar.
All right.
The description is news arrives that Kai Wynn has also become Bayshor's political leader. So the religion has taken over the planet.
All right.
She asks Kira to negotiate with an old resistance friend about returning soil reclamators. And if you remember, because they mentioned this before, that Kira was in the Shakar cell, we are now going to meet Shakar, the head of her resistance cell. And we also have John Doman guest starring. He's not playing Shakar, but John Doman's in it. I like John Doman. And of course, Louise Fletcher will be back. So
you got
good
me
things
right
there.
And I think naming episodes after characters is definitely better than a lot of the generic stuff we get. So
Right, you at least remember what the episode's about. The only problem with this is, well, I guess it's not a huge problem that like there are other episodes Shakar's in, but I guess if it's the first one he's in, then it's still easy enough to remember. That's the introduction.
Won't be seeing Jetrel again, that's for sure.
No, we will not.
All right,
until then, live long.
Even if I can't grant you that wish, and prosper.
It's All Been Done presents
Who's Got the Time?